Hello.
Say it.
3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to It's a Drama podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today we've got a slightly different show for you. Well, a very different show, actually. This is one of our behind the scenes shows, isn't it, Brian?
It is. We don't do too many of these, but it just gives people a bit of an insight and an update to where we are. You know, lots of people follow us and things, so they need to know where we are.
It's a look into something that quite happened last week that really made a massive difference in how I felt, or how we both felt. And it was just something quite profound that happened. And I could not do this podcast without sharing what happened.
Yeah, what happened? What went on?
Yeah, so if you are here and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a good laugh, Liz and Brian, they're hilarious, and I'm going to be a giggling all the way through this for the next 40 minutes. Maybe just think again.
Well, it's behind the scenes. As soon as we say behind the scenes, that means that, you're just letting people in.
Not really funny in real life, are we, Brian?
No, nobody is really, are they?
And you know what? On a serious note, this is the thing. We were talking about that this morning, weren't we? We said, okay, it's Monday. We always record a podcast on Monday. And it's a drama podcast on Monday. And normally we try and be upbeat, lighthearted, talk about travel, talk about the family, just have a bit of a laugh together, Bit
of escapism for everybody. That's what it's about, isn't it?
And so these episodes, I think it's important to mention that they're behind the scenes because you've got to talk about this. This is us. This is our real life. It's like looking into a part of our real life, not the Liz and Brian, entertainer kind of people, just the behind the scenes. That's all you have to say, really, isn't it?
That's it, because when you put yourself out in the public eye, there is always a little bit of a facade that you put up, isn't it? That kind of protects yourself, the real you. You're there and you're being authentic as you can, but then you always go one step beyond, and you reach out to people and things like that a bit more than just on a podcast.
Well, I think the word you've just said there is authentic, and that's the complete theme of this. And even now I'm recording this and I'm nervous. You can hear me shaking. My voice is like, because it doesn't feel right that I'm not being like, haha, let's all be jolly and let's all be really smiley and stuff. It's hard to sit down in front of a camera and a microphone and go, tell the truth about how you feel. But by God, I'm going to do it because this is important, and that's what this podcast is all about. So on the theme of authenticity, which is what you just said, yes, I'm always been a huge believer in being authentic, being as authentic as possible, being real and being honest. Yeah. But sometimes, I've never had to come across anything in life that has been so traumatic as what we're going through at the moment. My mum is got stage 4 cancer. She was only diagnosed in October. It's just been a complete and utter turmoil in our life. And it's hard to talk about it. It's hard to draw that line. Where is it too personal? Where is respectful? And where is helping other people? And the reason I asked you to do this with me today is because, and I kind of sprung it on you, was because I've been helped enormously in the last week because of something I did and was brave enough to do. And I want to share that with our listeners and our watchers and hopefully pass it on. Yeah.
I mean, normally when we do behind the scenes, we don't film it, but this is actually being filmed.
It is being filmed.
We're just trying to keep it as we just pretend the camera's not there.
We're trying very hard to pretend the camera's not there. And we're trying to keep eye contact because that's the biggest thing is when a camera is stuck there, you do tend to want to keep looking at the camera all the time. And then me and you lose that. Anyway. Yep. So what happened was a couple of weeks ago, I went to spend time with a friend. That friend is a GP and she lost her mum to cancer 5 years ago. I didn't want to go. I was scared to go. I didn't want to leave you. I was going on my own. I didn't want to do it, but I did. And I'm really, really glad I did. And one of the reasons I'm glad that I went to see her for that weekend was because we talked about her mum, her experience of losing her mum to cancer 5 years ago. And amongst other things, what she said to me, bearing in mind I don't really know her that well. We're email people. We're not real life people. I mean, we have met in real life, but she's not like an old friend. No. So I didn't feel like I could just just open up and completely, I don't know. I would, anyway, all that to say.
She's not the sort of person that we've been and stayed with her, but a week later, you don't keep in contact for 6 months or something like that.
She's not like my best friend that I've known for years.
But she's a good friend, but it's just that type of friend. Yeah.
But what she said to me, amongst other things, while I was there, was she said this. She said, do you know what, Liz? Cancer, it's cruel and it's bloody shit, isn't it?
Mm.
And you know what? When she said that to me, and she said other things as well, which I talked about in an email, which I'm going to tell you about later, but when she said that, those words, when she said, it's shit, I just thought, you're a GP and you're giving me permission to think, not like, oh, it's very hard, but, you know, she's your mum, so we're going through this and you'll be okay. And, you know, and not to say that those things don't help when people say that, but just to hear those words, it's shit and it's cruel, isn't it? And it was like someone just going, oh, there you go, come here, I'll wrap this massive big blanket around you. That's better, isn't it? There you go, that feels better. And I came away from that meeting with her, like that weekend, and I just felt like someone had given me permission to feel the things I was feeling.
Yeah.
You know, she said a lot of things, she said, and it was almost like she was reading my mind and could see in my head. And no doubt that girl has seen a lot. She's a GP and, like I say, lost her own mum and everything. But it was just flipping brilliant, the way she just came out and said it. There was no guilt. There was no, oh, you know, I know I shouldn't say this, but she just said it. And it was such a gift, Bri. It was such a gift. So that happened a couple of weeks ago, and I took that into the next couple of weeks, and I've remembered that. I've remembered what she said, and when I've been crying and feeling like crap, I've remembered what she said to me. It's just shit, like, you know, that's all it is. It's just crap, and you know.
But so you've said that it's shit, and it gave me a way to feel this. What were you feeling before that then?
Guilty.
About what?
Any bad feelings that I was feeling, I felt guilty.
So maybe what sort of bad feelings?
Oh, just like, you know, like, oh God, I just wish this would end. What's happening? I don't want to go over there today. Because
over to see your mum.
Yeah, I don't want to see mum today. I don't want to pick up the phone and check if she's okay, because what if she's not?
Yeah.
And then I've got to deal with it.
Right.
And my voice in my head would be going, but you should deal with that. You're her daughter. This is your role. What sort of person are you thinking that? You know? What the hell? Yeah. But she said, no, it's shit this. Yeah. But guess what? You're going to get through it, Liz. I got through it. We all get through it. It's shit and it's cruel. And that was the other word. It's cruel. And it's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's cruel all around, isn't it? Yeah. Really? It's not just in one place. It's not just for the person that's going through it. Everyone goes through it to a degree, but it's not quite the same. But so that's the guilt though, isn't it?
Yeah,
like you say?
It is, Bri. It's just, that's the thing, because you think that everyone else is coping with this better than you. Yeah. You think that everyone else is doing such a better job and they're so much more nicer to their parent, so much nicer feelings. You know, they don't sit in there think those things. They don't cry and they don't do stuff like that. But what she did was validated it. And she said, yes, they do. And it's fine to feel like that.
Yeah.
So I came away from that weekend and I told you everything that had been said and everything. And now fast forward to a couple of weeks later, and, you know, anyone who's been through this journey of cancer will know that things happen very quickly, you know, especially this stage in cancer. And I went out with Mum on the Tuesday, and she was going to be seeing the doctor. The next day she was going to be going to the hospital, and that day on the Tuesday was a particularly hard day. She wasn't having a great day. She wasn't walking, and I took her out for a drive, and it was we talked about some deep stuff, and it was just emotional and hard, you know. And I knew she was going to the hospital the next day for a checkup. And you know, it's that thing, isn't it? You just think, please just go to the hospital and they give you this super drug and everything's going to be fine and everything's going to be better. And in one sense that, and then the other sense, no, like I just want it to be over. Like, please just don't go through this anymore. Don't want to see you like this anymore. Like, you don't want to have you feeling this pain anymore, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So spent the day with her. And the next day I got up. I didn't sleep at all that night. And as you don't, you know, when you know, things like this. And I got up the next day and we were going into town, weren't we, to work, to a cafe.
Yeah, we normally go in once a week because we work at home just to give us a break.
And Mum wasn't seeing the doctor till 3, and I knew, and she'd asked me not to call her. She said, I just want the morning to myself. And so I had until 3 to go into town with you. And I said to you, didn't I? I was like, I don't know what to do. The thing as well that comes with stress is indecision. So I'm really, really grateful to you, Brian, because you are just making all the decisions at the moment.
Yeah.
Apart from this podcast content. You didn't have any say on that, but no. I did ask you what you thought about it.
Yeah, but you've got to get what's on your mind out, and it's yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you said to me that Wednesday we were going down to the cafe. You said we'll go for a coffee. We'll go down to our local cafe and have a coffee, and then we'll go into town. I'll take my computer. I'll do some editing. Why don't you just take your Kindle and your notes and you just do whatever, you just read, Liz, you said to me, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You just read and relax and just try and just relax and just get your mind.
Yeah, do your journaling notes.
Yeah, do your journaling and things like that. Anyway, we went down to the cafe, our local cafe down at the village. And it was just horrible. We were just sitting there and I just couldn't control myself. I was just crying. And like I've said before, people down there must just think, well, there she goes again, because it's just got to the stage now where even though I'm wearing a pair of sunglasses and it's dark and raining, people, they can just see. Anyway, there's a guy and he's got the shop next to the cafe. It's a little pop-up store that sells arts and crafts. And we've talked about him before. We have mentioned him before. And he's a lovely guy. And he was the one that told me about the flotation therapy tank, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he's obviously very, I don't want to say...
He's in touch with himself and he's very sort of spiritual as well, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah, so that's the one.
Yeah.
And we sit outside his cafe, like outside on the pavement.
Yeah.
That fronts his cafe, don't we?
You can move the chairs out wherever you want on the sidewalk, and so and he's quite happy to have him in front of his shop and everything, and he's got chairs out there himself, and he encourages people to come in and everything, doesn't he?
And he comes and opens his shop up at 9:00, and I purposely said to you, I want to be gone by 8:45 because I don't want the shop opening and me sitting here crying. And so we turned up. It was about 8:20, wasn't it? We're having a coffee. I was getting a bit emotional and upset. You were holding my hand and you were like, come on, it's going to be okay. We're just going to go into town. Your mum will be fine. She's going to go to hospital. She's going to get seen. We had that conversation. Yeah. Anyway, about 8:25, this guy shows up and I thought, oh no, it's not so bad strangers seeing you crying, but now the guy that owns the shop is going to turn up and here I am blubbing outside his shop window, But we still had half a coffee left, so we didn't want to just glug it back and go because that would...
a bit hot as well,
It was a bit hot.
But we could have picked it up, but you just don't, do you? Think, I'll be all right. It'll be all right.
So what we did was we sat there holding hands and you just giving me all your strength with your hands. And we just looked at each other in the eyes, didn't we? And as if I could see it in your eyes. You were like, it's okay. But I didn't give him eye contact. As he came into the cafe, I didn't give him eye contact because I didn't want to make him feel like he had to then go, oh, are you okay? You look a bit upset. So I just kept looking steadfast at you, hoping that he would just go into his shop, open his cafe, open his shop, get all his wares out and his stuff and just get on with his day. Anyway, he walks past us and I could feel him. He glanced over at me and he walked past us and he opens his shop door and he puts his bags inside the shop and he turned his till on. I could see this out of my peripheral vision.
Yeah.
And he gets his things and he starts putting them, arranging them in the window. And then he walked outside and he just stood behind us.
Yeah.
And then he came over to me and he reached his arms around me through
my grasp and over a barrier.
Yes, over a barrier where we were sitting behind the barrier because it's like a metal bar where people tie their dogs to.
Yeah, well, it's like there's a slope which goes down to his shop and there's a barrier there to stop you falling over the edge.
Right,
And
okay.
So he was standing on the slope and then we were a bit higher than him, weren't we?
So he comes up to a couple that he doesn't really know that well.
No.
We've only had a few exchanges with him. Yeah. Who are holding hands.
Yeah.
She's crying. He's looking into her eyes. He comes up from behind me. He reaches over the barrier, over mine and Brian's hands, and he wrapped his arms around me, didn't he, like a bear?
You were side onto him, weren't you? Yeah.
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 And he just put his head against my head and just hugged me. This big, long, sincere, warm, silent hug. And I was looking at you and I just closed my eyes and he just kept hugging me, and it just felt like this hug, like someone going, "You're okay." And then I didn't say anything, and you didn't say anything, and he didn't say anything. And then he just let go and walked back into his shop.
Yeah.
And it was the most profound thing, because it was like, did that just happen? Did someone just wrap their arms around me and give me the biggest hug? And then we just looked at each other, me and you, didn't we? And I said, "Oh my God, that was just gorgeous." And you said, "You needed that, didn't you, Liz?" Two things here. One, and I haven't talked to you about this yet. So one, and I'll tell you what happened in a minute after then what happened. But first of all, before we move on to that, he told me why he did it, but what did you think when someone just came and hugged your wife?
Because we've had a few hugs with him before,
Yeah, but only mate.
But it's not sort of shaky hands and hello. It's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" Sometimes, he kind of knows the story to a degree a little bit, but he doesn't really know the story that well of what's going on. And so, it's just like, yep. But he's that type of guy. He hugs a lot of people, doesn't he, as such, but just in a hello type way, So I didn't, to be honest, I didn't think anything. I just thought, thank you. That's all I was thinking, because it was very sincere. And I saw him the next day. And just said to him, "You don't know how much Liz needed that." And he said, "I could just feel it," and that's so there's nothing in it, it's just so nice.
Before I go, so what happened next was we got up to leave because we were going to the cafe to work in town. Well, Brian was going to work, I was going to read. I just had, what's it called? Tear-stained face. Looked a complete wreck. And I just said to you, didn't I? "I'll meet you at the car in a minute." You went back over to the car to get some stuff from Footscray or whatever.
I went to the shop.
And I turned back round and I went into the shop, and he had his back to me. And I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned round and he looked like he was crying. He just looked like he had tears in his eyes. And I just said, "Thank you so much for just what you just did." And he said, "You know what?" He said, "I'm not sure what's going on here." He said, "I don't know what's going on, but I do know something inside me just said, she needs a hug." He said, and I was privileged to be that person, to be able to give that to you. And he said, and not only that, he said, "I'm going to," what did he say? What words did he use? "I'm going to hold that space for you all day." I said, "You don't know how much I needed it." He said, "Yes, I do know how much you needed it. And I will hold that space for you all day," he said. Honestly, Brian, I just felt like, I'll buy everything in your shop.
Yeah, I'll have it all now. There's my card.
Yeah. But before I just move on and just tell you the second part of the story, I just want to say as well, because I don't think I've told you this, or maybe I have, I can't remember what I've told you now, but I was speaking to Tess and I was telling Tess about what had happened in the thing, in the cafe. And I just said, "You know what, Bri, it takes a big person to sit there while he's holding his wife's hands and let another man hug someone. And I just want to say that in public, because not only did his hug mean so much to me, but your reaction meant more to me. It was just, or as much as that to me, it was just, I was just so proud of you and just so happy to be married to you, that you were just so caring about me and putting your own, I don't know, I know you're not that kind of guy anyway, but you could have been. I don't know how I would have been if I'd been sitting there holding your hand and a woman had come up and just wrapped her arms around you. I'd have been like, I don't think I would have been as strong as you are, and as like, you just put everything to one side, all your thoughts and all your, well, I'm the man here and I'm her wife here. And it was just like, no, like you just said, she needed it. And I've got so much respect for you for doing that. I have. Just take it, because it takes a big, big person to do that.
Yeah. Well, thanks. But I think you summed it up as well when we came away, and, but I didn't know that at the time, but I kind of knew if I'd come up and give you a hug in the cafe, then you'll just start crying on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to keep you strong.
Yeah.
But you did say afterwards, I needed a hug, but I didn't, it was not necessarily from me. I didn't know who it was from.
I know.
And it happened, didn't it?
And that was the really weird thing. It was like manifestation, because I was sitting there, me and you're holding hands, and I've got all I need in you.
Yeah.
You are all I need, but I needed an extra thing. I needed a hug. Yeah. And I maybe I was thinking, I wish my mum was here. I wish Kev was here. I wish Melon was here. I wish, Tess was here. But no, it was him. And it was like, I'll give it to you. Yeah. And it was just magical anyway. Yeah,
it was. That's how it felt. But, when he was hugging you, we've always got our secret thing, which is, 3 squeezes, which is the I love you. And we were doing that and you were doing it back. And it was just so you kind of just know, But you, on a different day, you might have just wanted to break away from it, and then if that was it, then, but he would have known that. Yeah.
So we go into town and we set up, Brian sets up, we have another coffee in town at this cafe that we go to. And by now it's about, 10 o'clock, something like this, by the time we get into town. And you set up all your stuff, didn't you? We had a coffee together outside, and then Brian said, right, I'm going to go inside now. He said, what are you going to do? He said, are you just going to read? And I was like, yeah, because that will be relaxing. I couldn't face doing any,
mundane jobs.
Yeah, sorting out like community and payments and, anyway, thumbnails and pins and all those things.
Just
the usual. And I couldn't face it. And it was like, no. And you went in and I tried to read. I got my book out and I was reading. I thought, do you know what I want to do? I want to write. I want to write down how I'm feeling. Mm. Everything that's just happened, I want to write. But, the way I can only describe it is because I know that you were saying to me, no, don't work. And I was like, no, it's not work. It's a release. It's like a musician would sit down at a piano and play, or an artist would think, do you know what? I'm just going to get some paints and I'm going to paint. It was just, I want to get this out of my head and just onto paper, and I just want to write. So what I thought I would do, because I tried doing my journaling with my paper and my pencil, and that wasn't working because it just wasn't working. It was just, I was frustrated. I thought, no, I need to write down this. So I opened up my computer and I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my thoughts exactly of how I'm feeling right now. I'm going to say about my friend what she said to me about it being shit and cruel. And I'm just going to write down my thoughts, and I'm just going to get it out of my head. I'll never publish it. I'll just write it. So I start writing it down, and it just came out. It's just like a stream, blah, 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 onto the paper, onto the computer screen. It took me about, an hour of thoughts just coming out, just onto the screen. And after I finished, I just felt like I'd had a workout. I just felt like, oh, thank God. It's out. It's out of my head. And I thought, I'll just read what I've written. And I started reading what I wrote. And as I was reading what I'd just written, just tears just streaming down, started crying. And I was like, oh my God, this is just, it's so raw and it's so heartfelt and it's so honest. And I sat there and I just thought, what do I do with it? Because the first thing I thought was, I need to share it with someone. I need to give this to someone else to make them feel not alone.
Yeah.
Just like my friend had done for me, and just like he'd done down the cafe, I need to give now. I've just received, and I need to give this, all these words, all these feelings to someone else who might be going through what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And that's all I thought. I was like, what if someone else is feeling exactly the same as me right now, And they read this and think, oh my God, I feel better, just like I did when my friend said to me about it being shit and cruel. So I was frightened, obviously. I was just like, and I came to you in the cafe and I was like, I've just written this and I'm thinking about sending it out on my newsletter, on my email weekly newsletter. What do you think? Well, you read it, didn't you? And you're like...
Yeah, I just thought this is brilliant that you... Like you said, it hit all the emotional things that you were trying to achieve, like you say, with, someone sharing something with you helped you immensely. And if you can do the same now with someone else in the emotional state that you're in, and, it will work for them.
Yeah.
That's got to be gold for everybody else, isn't it, really?
You'd think so, but here's the thing. Because you would think, and this is what I was thinking, I was like, put it out, Liz. This is needed. There's someone out there. But in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I've got 3,000 people on this newsletter, 3,000 people who get emails, funny emails about life and kids and Brian and wetting myself and traveling and... Yeah. This email that I'd just written, these words that I'd just written, there are some heavy, personal, confessional stuff in there. And I just thought, no, I can't send it, because if I do, people are just going to unsubscribe. They're just going to think I'm a psycho. They're just going to think I'm mean. They're going to think I'm crackpot. They're just going to think, what the hell? What are you sending us this for? This is not what I signed up for. Yeah. And all of these thoughts were going through my head. But my real me was going, no, Liz, no, they can just forget it, because if they don't like it, then tough. Yeah. Unsubscribe. You're doing this for the people that need it, for the real people who need this right now. This is who you're doing it for. Yeah. But I'm not going to lie, and that's why I asked you to look over it, and I needed your reassurance. It was like, do you think this is okay? And you're like, no, this is great, just send it. But my God, pressing that send button, Brian, was just like, well, here goes nothing. Like, here goes loads of unsubscribes, and here goes people emailing me back going, this is not what I signed up for. And, what sort of person are you that you would say these things, and get a grip, and all the rest of it, all these things that are going through your mind, just about what you think people are going to judge you and what they're going to say about you and things like that. But I just thought, no, do it. Just press send and just think of that one person that you might be helping. Anyway, I pressed send, and this is like about 4 o'clock now, wasn't it? Yeah. And I kept the computer closed. I just pressed send. We came home and I was like, I'm not looking to see, because you can see on the analytics how many people have opened the email. And I thought, no, I don't want to know, because I don't know, I just got this thing that I'd rather not know any bad news. I just don't want to know it. Like, I've got enough to think about. So if you didn't like the email, tough, I'm not checking. And then part of me thought, just see if anyone has replied, or anyone, has unsubscribed, or anyone has done anything or whatever. And it was 8 hours later after I sent it, I plucked up the courage that night. We'd had dinner, and I just sneaked into the bedroom, and I was like, I'll just open my computer and just have a look and see if anyone has. And I saw, and so it's 8 hours after, I saw that 20 people had replied to the email. And I just thought, and you can see the first line of the email, like, what it says, and no one was going, what the hell? I could see it was like, oh, Liz, thank you. So it was just dear Liz, thank you, dear Liz. Oh my God, you've read my mind. Thank you for I could just see, thank you, Liz. Oh, yeah. And I was just like, it was just like, well, for one, it was like a relief. Two, it was just, thank God I pressed send, you know. Anyway, it was getting late that night, and I just thought, I'm not going to open the emails now. I'm just going to leave them sitting there, and I'll check in the morning. And I'll just look at the emails then and read what people have said, because this needs my full attention. I'm not just going to do it late at night. So the next morning I get up. It was a Friday, or Thursday or Friday. I can't remember what day it is now. And I got up and I opened my computer. And I don't know if you've ever had this, but I opened my computer and it just, so when you send an email via ConvertKit, it it gives you the title of the email that you've just sent.
Yeah.
So it's like, it will say like, Brian has replied to, and that email was called, the email that I'm talking about was called Coping or Not. That was the title of the email. And I opened my computer and it just went ping, coping or not, ping, coping or not, ping, coping or not, ping, coping or not. 60 emails, 60 replies to coping or not emails came flooding into my computer.
Yeah. And that's for people that aren't savvy with newsletters and things. That is phenomenal to get 60 letters coming from people out there,
60 people. I mean, can you imagine if someone sent you 60 Christmas cards or 60 birthday cards or 60 Valentine's? Do you know what I mean? It was like, I can't, to me, it was making me shake just thinking about it. It was phenomenal.
And they're not just, what you're talking about here as well, they weren't just one sentence. Some of them, it was a huge long A4 full of words and everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Which is amazing, to get that sort of response.
I just looked at these emails and I was sitting in the bedroom cross-legged. I opened my computer, it was on the floor, and I was looking at the screen and I saw name after name after name, 60 emails, name after name after name coming through. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to take myself off for the day. I am going to do nothing apart from reply to every single one of these emails. Now, if you take 60 emails and think it's going to take me, I'm not the fastest of typers, so it's going to take me at least 5 minutes to reply, or at minimum, it's, so I thought, no, I want to just go into town and sit in a quiet cafe and just reply personally to every single one of these emails, which again is something that you always want to do, but you sometimes haven't got the time to do. Anyway, I'm driving along into town. I'd left you, didn't I? I'm just feeling like, I just feel like the luckiest girl on earth, because not only do I feel now lighter because I've shared what I had to share, I feel like I've just given someone the best gift ever. And hadn't even read these emails yet. I just knew that they were there and I knew that people had taken the time to respond. Anyway, I'm driving down the road and get to the junction at the end of our road and the phone goes and it's a number that I don't recognize. It's not in my list. It's not in my contacts. And immediately I think it's the hospital. It's news about my mum. So I'm not going to pick it up. Mm-hmm. And so I'm on hands-free and I just go, hello, like this. And this voice says, hi, is this Liz? And I said, yes, speaking. And this voice says, my name is Nee. Mm-hmm. And she said, Liz, it's Nee. And this girl is part of our community in our membership, our private membership for people moving to New Zealand. I've only ever spoken to her on email. She's, like I say, she's part of our community, but I've never spoken to her in real life. We've never done a podcast. I've never met her. And she phoned me up on my phone and said, and her voice was shaking. Yeah. And she said, Liz, I've just read your email and I needed to phone you and just speak to you and tell you, thank you so much. You've brought so much love to me. She just spent the next 5 minutes just loving me, basically, and just saying all these lovely things and just how thankful for sharing and for just sharing such vulnerability and to know that she was there if ever I needed her. And just, she said, it's taken me 20 minutes to pluck the courage up to phone you. Mm. And I was thinking, please don't answer and please just let me leave a voice message. She said, but you answered. And I was like, yep, I answered. And so that alone, we talked about this, didn't we? How hard it is to phone someone in real life.
I know.
And that you've never met before and say, thank you.
Yeah, and that you follow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow. Yeah. She's an amazing person as well, though. She is. And that just shows that, doesn't it? To have that courage to do something like that.
It does, Bri. It takes massive courage and massive influence just to have that, to know that I'd influenced her so much to make her feel brave enough to think, well, she shared it and she's scared stiff and now I'm going to do the same. And it was like a pass along. Yeah. It was like, here you are, hug, weekend with friend, here you are, hug, here you are, me, here you are, friend, people emailing me back, here you are. You know, it's like, so I get to the cafe. I'm sorry, I hope this is all making sense because I feel like I'm just...
No, you don't. It's making sense.
I get to the cafe, I open my computer and I look at these, I read every single one of those 60 emails from people, men and women, who are saying things like, I lost my mum, I've lost my husband, I lost my wife, I lost... some very, very, very personal stuff there. All saying, thank you so much for sharing, for being truthful about how this feels, about not hiding how this feels, about how hard it is, and to go through this and being there and just knowing that I'm not alone through this. Just thank you, you know. And it was just, and I'm not sharing this because I'm thinking, oh, everyone said thank you to me. It was just the gift that you can give people by being honest and being vulnerable and showing people that they are not alone and they are not the only ones. They're not going crazy when they think, God Almighty, it's just me going through this. It's just me thinking this. The gift that it is to be able to give that, Bri. It's worth like $1 trillion.
I know, you can't pay for it. That's what you're trying to say.
You
can't buy it.
You can't.
Yeah, because you can't make people send you something.
No.
They have to want to send it, especially that type of email that they were sending.
Now, every one of those emails was just as special as each other. Every single one was unique and heartfelt. And I felt, like I say, I felt honoured that someone would write that.
Yeah. Hey.
And share that, you know?
I know, yeah.
Absolute honoured.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, email number 60 is an email from a woman who's from Lancashire in England. And she said, I'm just on my 6th round of chemo. She's got young kids. She's got cancer.
Yeah.
She sent me a picture of her smiling, a little selfie of her smiling. And she's like, thank you for so much for bringing this about and for being who you are. Just thank you for giving me the right to feel heard, you know, and just validated and seen. And just I am not alone. And I just felt like literally like someone had just opened a big gold box and gone, there you go, let's have as much as you want of this. This is all yours, you know. It's just it was just priceless. And the reason I wanted to share it is because when I think, Bri, how much I was shaking at that cafe and saying to you, shall I send it? What do you think? Do you think people will hate me? You know, do you think they'll be really angry? Shall I just do it? Shall I change it, Bri? Shall I soften it? No, you said, no, just send it as it is. And when I think to be brave enough to do that, and it was brave, it took a lot of courage, just like doing this is now. It's not easy. And it's just like, but just to let people know you're not alone. You are not alone. And that was just, it was a gift to me, and it was flipping 10 million times better to be able to give that back. It really was. So that was it. And I ended the email that I sent. And by the way, if you didn't get that email and you're not on my email list and you want that email, I mean, this isn't like, you know, I'm trying to get you on my email list or anything like that. But if you didn't get that email, then just, you know, my email address, liz@itsadrama. Is it .com or is it just... okay, I can't remember it now. But liz@itsadrama.com. And just write in the subject line, I don't know, what could they write?
Latest email.
Latest
if you just
email.
do that, yeah. Liz@itsadrama.com / not just in the subject line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Just for, just in the subject line, just put latest email and Liz will send it to you.
And like I say, and do you know what? 25 people unsubscribed. The minute I sent the email, 25 people unsubscribed. And when I saw that massive big bar that shows people, because when you look on ConvertKit, it shows how many people have unsubscribed, and it's like a bar chart, and it was almost hitting the floor, that many people had unsubscribed. And I just thought, you know what, that's fine. That's absolutely fine, because I'm not your hugger. I'm not your person.
Exactly.
Go and find someone who is, and find that person and be them for that. It's like, be them for you as well, reciprocate. And it was almost a relief, Bri, because it was like, oh, phew, I don't have to worry about those, I don't have to be someone that I'm not for those people anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're saying. Authentic self. And if it doesn't resonate with you, there's no reason for you to stay. You just unsubscribe and off you go.
So I just want to share a quote before we go. This is the quote that I wrote on the email, because this was the whole gist of this behind the scenes podcast today.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to share with you, to let you know that if you are feeling like, I shouldn't say that, that's not right, and they'll think I'm that if I say that, and you think, that won't help if I say, that's not going to do any good, just share it. Not only does it help you, but it helps other people. And the quote that I want to leave you with is by a lady called Joyce Rochelle. And she wrote, "If I exist, then surely there must be someone else out there like me."
Mm.
And I just think it doesn't say it any better than that.
No,
you are
true.
not
Yeah.
alone. So until next week, when we are back being more
just Liz and Bri,
cheerful or whatever, I really hope that this helps you, this episode. I hope you take something out of it, that a little something. And just know that I'm here for you, and Bri's here for you, and you are not alone. So until next time, stay strong, stay positive, stay you. Keep being you. That's it. Just be you. And that is enough. And I will speak to you next time.
Yep. And on that point, Kia Kaha, stay strong. You're not alone, like Liz said. And if you do want to hear that email, just email her. And you know what? We're here for you, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Okay.
See you now.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello. I feel as if like you're not open to it. Like, what would, say for example, right? Say for example,
right.
If someone said to you, if John our next door neighbours, and they said to us, look, it's been proved that if you shed your clothes and come into this room with us, and we all look at each other's private parts, and we all just let our emotions just ease out of us.
Yeah.
And it's been proved that it's going to make everything in life so much easier. You wouldn't be willing to give that a try?
It's just like, I don't know, would you actually...
You're old-fashioned.
No, I just think, do you know what? I don't need to see that my next door neighbour's crotch. I really don't. It's like, I can imagine what it's like, and there you go.